Marten, great to have you on the podcast here today. How are you?
I am good. Thanks for inviting me, Jared.
Super excited. Let's dive right into my probably super overused first question. Let's say you're wearing that. uh, I don't know if you have one, but let's assume you do. A nice HackerOne quarter zip. You're walking down San Francisco. Someone says, "What does HackerOne do?" What do you tell them?
We're here to make all software safe and secure. So we state our mission is to empower you to build a safer internet. And you focus on building your software. We come in and bang on it so much that we find all the security vulnerabilities and weaknesses so you can fix them. So in a way, we are the bearer of bad news that becomes good news because you fix it. So you have to be ready for the testing we provide, but it's unparalleled. Nobody else can test the way we can.
And you and I were laughing a little bit before our conversation how I heard you speak at one of the underscore Ventures core summits that they have, and they just had their most recent one here in Boston. And I remember screenshotting your company to look into it more. Obviously, you had a great talk, and it's it's a real pleasure to be able to dig deeper here today with you. So again, thank you for being on. Would love to...
We are used by the leading companies in the world. Amazon is using us, all the big digital ones, PayPal, Goldman Sachs, Department of Defense, everybody with serious software in deployment is using HackerOne to ensure that their security is better. So we are truly a massive movement. Now, maybe we weren't back then when I spoke at the conference, but the company has grown very rapidly since.
What I would love to hear from you too, Marten, is obviously this is a AI focused podcast. So most of our conversation here today will be focused on AI. Could you break down some of the most compelling ways AI is transforming, specifically vulnerability management and threat detection?
Yeah, it's a massive, massive area. Like first, if we start from the biggest picture, we do AI in order to accomplish new things. So the world is seeing a lot of new applications, new things, new ideas, scientific breakthroughs that couldn't be made before. So that's the bulk of AI. But when you are in the cybersecurity industry like we are, we say, okay, but look at all the risks. Like now we have AI producing new software code faster than anybody has produced before. We have adversaries using AI to attack you. We have AI used to defend you. We have AI used to test you. So it's a very wide field of ways of raising the bar for cybersecurity, testing faster, fixing faster, but the volume is like 1,000x larger. Like if you look at like GitHub's Copilot, how fast it produces code, and then you have to test it. So we are in a world now where previously I would say that HackerOne can barely keep up with how fast new software code is deployed in the world. Now code is deployed even faster. So the need on us to do bug bounties, AI red teaming, pen testing to test the code is just bigger and bigger. So that's the big picture. In vulnerability management, specifically, like you asked, the trouble always has been that if you are in cybersecurity, there's a lot of stuff and every detail matters. Like you're looking at log files and incidents and stuff coming in, and if you fail on one little detail, you may already have lost. So it's nearly an inhuman task to review all these inputs and determine which ones are relevant. And that's where AI is helping enormously because it has unlimited capacity to read through any log files, to handle any incoming stream of data. So that's where the big benefit is coming from AI. It's taking a very tedious, burdensome work and never getting tired. Like AI doesn't get tired. It may hallucinate a few times, but even hallucinations will go away. But AI doesn't get tired like humans do.
Something we all talk about, we only ever focus on the good and the innovation that'll happen with AI. couldn't a lot of these like bad actors out there also be now leveraging AI to try to figure out ways to maybe do things they shouldn't? Or do you not see that happening? And I guess part two of
We
that,
do.
how are you ensuring, that
Yeah.
you're watching out for that?
We do, and of course, you always have to assume that although most people are good people, there are always bad people, and there are some people who are being forced to do bad things. So there will always be adversaries. But the reality is today that the biggest challenges we have with AI safety and security is self-imposed. It is companies rolling out AI deployments that cause embarrassment, violation of privacy, violation of all kinds of regimes and proper conduct. So although the evil empires are using AI to attack you, your own sort of thoughtlessness is as big of a risk. So we see that at HackerOne, when we do AI red teaming, a lot of what you're testing is what you built yourself to make sure that your AI service bot or AI deployment cannot say something really stupid, something embarrassing, something offensive, something criminal, that it won't share data it shouldn't be sharing. So that's actually where most of our work is going today. Although you're right, there is this like horror scenario of an evil empire attacking with AI, and that certainly is something you like big organizations have to consider. But in the day-to-day cybersecurity world, the biggest risk is what you have built on your own in good faith, but you just haven't tested it enough.
When you mentioned earlier in the conversation that you end up having to give bad news before you can give good news, right? And that's just the nature of your business. You don't need to share everything, but like, what are some of the common mistakes that you see a lot of these organizations that you end up working with making early on? Obviously, they're still going to need you to do your testing and to go through it, but are there, a handful of things that you're like, man, it seems like everyone continues to fall into this?
Sure, it is like the practice we do is we provide radical candor to you, and we say, Jared, we will tell you what's wrong with you, and then you'll get stronger. So that's the whole idea here. But if you take it seriously, it all starts from the design. And CISA, the government agency for cybersecurity, has come out with this security by design concept, or the industry developed it, but they are endorsing it, which makes a lot of sense, meaning whatever you learn that you did wrong, go back to your design and make it impossible in the future. So I'm not answering your question exactly, but I'm saying whenever we see our customers making a mistake or not paying attention to something or coding in a weird way, and we see a vulnerability coming out of it, we help them go back to the earliest stage, the design phase, and make sure it won't happen again. And that's how you improve cybersecurity, that you learn from your mistakes, so to speak, and you try to make it impossible going forward. Even when you do that, there will always be cyber threats. There will always be the risk of breach, but you are in much, much better state. So a company needs to think about this concept, which is called defense in depth. You have multiple lines of defense, and you apply all of them, and you bring the learning back always. And the last line of defense is a bug bounty program that we provide, where we test the heck out of your software, and we always find some critical vulnerabilities, even at that final last line of defense.
Martin, one of the things that just seems to continuously be up in discussion now is that implementing AI often comes still with significant challenges today. So from your perspective, what are some of the most common obstacles that organizations face when integrating AI into their security processes? Kind of separate from the last thing I said, because it's it's still different.
Yeah, we are still at a stage where AI can hallucinate, and AI is not fully deterministic. So if you're deploying it today, and you should deploy it today, you have to come in and do the final check with a human. You have to double check the results. So we haven't seen the full benefits of AI yet because we can't fully trust it. But it's very important that we roll it out now, because we need to learn how to make use of it, and this is the time to learn. But the main thing is we see it with many of our customers who are using AI and say, yes, but Martin, we are using it, but we can't always trust it. It gives different answers on different days. Like this needs still a very strong human touch. But those things will be going away. Like hallucination is something I believe the scientists behind AI will at some point solve in specific domain areas like cybersecurity. So we are heading in the right direction, but right now you have to bear with AI as it is evolving and becoming stronger.
Well, when I have these conversations with people now, I basically say we're in our kind of sci-fi era right now, where if it doesn't, like, anything that you can almost imagine with it happening can potentially happen with AI in the near future. It's just a matter of how fast will that end up happening. But it really allows us to think about things in a total different light. Like, you mentioned earlier, one of our past episodes, right? The James Courier from NFX. And the biggest takeaway I continue to have from my conversation with him, he was just talking about how AI really allows us to rethink entire industries and products. And it's so interesting because now what's happened, like even from an interface perspective, do you even need the interface on certain things? Like, so it's really exciting. Now that'll also, as a result, right, that will mean a lot more security challenges coming up because when you're changing the game that much, right? So, how do you, I would love to say, how do you stay on top of how rapid all these changes are happening? Because even hallucination, those happened at a heck of a lot more months back, a year ago, than they even do today. So, like, how do you stay on top of how quickly this technology changes compared to even other technologies in the past?
You are very correct in your description of the situation. And I do think the only universal mechanism to this is curiosity, that you tell yourself to learn every day and not believe in what you learned yesterday. But I do think mankind has a problem with new technology. You said AI is enabling these things that were not possible before. That's true. But if you look at most people, they try to use AI for a problem they already have. Like, they're not thinking outside of it. They're thinking, okay, I've had this task for the last 10 years. Can AI solve it for me? That's one thing. The other thing is they look at the deficiencies in AI today and assume they'll stay deficiencies and that AI will stay deficient. Both of those are wrong. We should think about things we have never been able to do that we can do with AI. And we should know that if AI has a limitation, that limitation is likely to go away and go away quickly. So hallucinations may go away. We talk about large language models. There are other than language models. There are other than large models. We will have a lot of models. We'll have mathematical models, physical models, chemical models, human models. Like, AI will produce the models that are needed for the world. So the real opportunity with AI is stuff we have never done before, like inventing new proteins, like the Nobel Prize was given for that sort of innovation, doing science that we haven't been able before, explore space without traveling there in ways that haven't been done before. So we are, like, what we are talking about today is pretty myopic and simple because we would just like to improve customer service or something. Customer service has been a challenge for humans for the past 1,000 years, and now we're trying to apply AI. Think about what AI can do beyond those things, particularly in the scientific area, where the stuff mankind has never been able to do before.
I've been really finding it super interesting when you look at the like gene therapy, like people using AI for gene therapies, and it's truly incredible. But even that, like, it's human nature to want to innovate things, but it's kind of a different beast entirely to not just make something slightly better, like you said, but to rethink it completely. And that is something I think a lot of people will still continue to struggle with. If you went into a product meeting at most of these companies, they're going to say, we have this process where we get this email, and then this email now will trigger this. So then when this happens, this happens. But why does it have to have all this, like, kind of just square type process, right? I do think you're going to see a lot more people too, like we're already seeing positions, right, for prompt engineering starting to come up. That wasn't something years ago. Do you think there's roles at on like the tech side of things at a lot of these organizations that will continue to pop up that were not here today?
Absolutely, we will see a change. Like I sometimes think back at, if you are a police officer, like a police constable in traffic, and 100 years ago you would stand in an intersection and guide the traffic with your hands. And then we invented traffic lights, and now we don't need human police officers standing in the intersection. Still, we have a lot of work for police, and police has just more work than before. It's the same with AI, that some jobs will disappear, completely new jobs will emerge, and now prompt engineering is the most obvious one. But it's just the first one. There will be others coming in. There will be the testing of AI, there will be application of AI, there will be guiding of AI. Like, I can't even imagine all the things that will come, but they will come, and they will be invented by people who are curious and who can think outside the box. And it's so hard. Like, you think you are an open-minded person, but everybody has limits to their perception and their thinking. Like, we are all limited. And AI can do much more than we can think, because our thinking is not up to, like, it's not up to par with what AI can do. So therefore, we tend to look at very regular things and build them the way we used to build them. And we should just get rid of that. Soon we will be building software applications 100 times faster than before. And then you can go and compete against old SaaS companies, because they are still developing software the old way, and you are like a 17-year-old entrepreneur building a new ERP system like 100 times faster than before, a self-learning system that will adjust itself as it grows, something like that.
I also think you're going to have, because you're going to have people without even development backgrounds that are able to now develop applications to some degree, right? Like, I think some of it's overblown when you see some of the platforms out today. They've improved a lot, but they're like, you don't need an engineer to build a platform anymore. Yeah, you don't need to build a basic
that's a fallacy. I think,
yeah.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you, John. I think that is a fallacy. It is true that it's easier to get it done today. It's not true that it's an easier job. Like, if you are an architect of something, you have to have very clear vision. You have to be very detail-oriented, very principled. You have to understand the problem domain problem domain deeply. So, yes, AI will do a lot of the work for you, but you have to be really knowledgeable about what you're asking for. Maybe you're not a software developer, but you've had to go through some education or training as hard as that. You have to have a very rational, mathematical mind, logical. You have to envision what will happen. So I don't think lay people will build things unless they have built that enormous knowledge of depth.
I totally agree with you. I don't think that's going to stop. Yeah, I agree with you. I still don't think that's going to stop everyone from trying. So that's going to create some platforms that have some major like security vulnerability, because to your point, they don't have the architect back, or maybe they're deciding to not have someone that they would actually need to be able to build the right type of application that they wanted to. But I mean, you see all the posts going out. Yeah, it's interesting. Last one or two more questions for you, Marten. One of the things we like to ask every guest that comes on is kind of creating a 90-day plan for companies. So for organizations just starting to map out their AI strategy, especially in the security domain, what would a solid 90-day plan look like? And how can they ensure early success?
So the first thing is that cybersecurity practices that have been developed over the past decades are all solid and good. So you shouldn't question them or change them radically, because it's cybersecurity is a lot about the practice of how you do things and the rigor of how you do things, and those should stay exactly the same as before. Then with AI coming in, you have to, if you have AI deployments, you have to test them, you have to do AI red teaming of them. If you start using AI tools for your own security, then that's will make you more efficient and effective, and the advice for them will depend on which exact product you are using. So you should listen to the vendor, and whatever they are saying, you should change. But the fundamental is that cybersecurity is essentially about the rigor of your actions. There's a lot of technology there, but the heart is the how you operate and not what technology you use.
Now, my last question for you too, Marten, is around the HumanX conference. What are you most looking forward to about this event?
So I'm so excited about HumanX, going there, being a speaker. I hope to run into innovators of AI who are like huge vision for the future, thinking outside the box, who are curious, experimenting with new things that the world hasn't seen before. That is what I look mostly forward to. Of course, there are many other great things, but that would be the for me, number one.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It'll be good to connect in person, and going to be so many great speakers. It'll be a good couple days.
I think it'd be just wonderful.
Well, Marten, I want to thank you again so much for joining me here on the podcast. Really enjoyed our conversation and look forward to future ones.
Thank you. Thanks, Sharon. Likewise.